So now I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about a project myself and Robbie Longus have been working on for the last year or so. Um, we're looking at planting date, and you might think, why are we going to kind of trying to revisit this? And the reason why is the last couple of years we've gotten several questions in the spring about late spring freeze. Fortunately, we haven't had that issue this year, but the last 2 years in particular, we have. And so that got me thinking. I was doing some research into some of our fall weather and then spring weather and how many growing degree day accumulations we have. I got a handout here that should be making its way around. And as I'm pretty sure you're all aware, with wheat production, the majority of your yields going to come from your fall tillers. It's been documented that 87% of your yield is coming from tillers that are developed before January 1st. So that takes approximately 700 growing degree days to put on those two tillers. So ideally, we want 700 growing degree days by January 1st. But you don't want to have too much, so you're getting too much growth, and then you're having more of a cause for freeze later on in the spring. So we put in a proposal last year or two, and we were funded by the Small Grains Board to do this on-farm study. We've got one here at the station, actually, which is a crawl off the road, so that's why we're not actually seeing it here at this field day. But and then we've got two on-farm locations, one at Paul's Farm in New Kent, and then one in King William County as well. And so, but basically, what we have a range of 4 planting dates, from a more like an early planting date and on time, and then some very late planting dates, just to kind of see what we were going to be, what's going on there. So we had that range from like November or October 15th, October 30th, November 15th, November 30th. Of course, those are very late. And what I've shown you here, it's been, a common rule of thumb is around October 15th, October 20th for this time frame. For this part of the state is a key planting date for this time frame. But if you look at your this handout, your growing degree data for the last 6 or so years at 4 locations, you can see what day you need to plant to get 700 growing degree days. So here in Warsaw, that's shifted from October 31st to November the 11th. You see for Blackstone, Painter, and Suffolk as well. And I'm not going to recommend for anyone to actually plant that late, but this is a interesting scenario here of your heat unit accumulation. So down at the bottom of this handout, you see the heat unit accumulations at the 3 locations this year. You see those first 2 planting dates, they both achieved 700 growing degree days by January 1st. Of course, those later 2 were very much behind, and you're seeing that as you go out and look at those trials. What I also mentioned, we've been flying those several times from like January 1st all the way up to flowering to see the rate of growth for those. And if you turn over on the back page, you'll see that you see how your first 2 planting dates are very much in line. They're very close together, and then your last 2 planting dates are, of course, very much behind that. And so that gives us a kind of a look into those first 2, the October 15th through October 30th, November 1st time frame. Maybe we can shift that back. Not ready to, of course, make that recommendation yet, but as we go through this year and collect the harvest data this year, that'll give us a better look at it. And then also, one thing we're going to look at is using some weather patterns. North Atlantic oscillation, I've done some work with that in previous years, and it's a type of weather pattern that's very influential, and it gives you an indicator if you're going to have a warm fall or a cool fall. So that may be able to shed some light as to whether we're able to bump that planting date back a week or so if we're able to afford to do that. The whole goal is to still be able to accumulate the proper heat units before January 1st, but not have too many accumulated where you're at risk of freeze. I don't know, Robbie, I see you. I don't know if you will want to come make any comments about the study or about what you've seen from this test. Any growers that you've talked to?
Just, I appreciate the opportunity to work with Joseph. I'd also like to recognize Turner Mink in the back, King and Queen. King William County A&R Extension Agent. He helped us find a location over in King William and has been working with us on that this year, so we're appreciative of that. I know we do have a few growers in the crowd, so I think we're going to try to do this study again next year. So if you are interested to work with us, please let us know. We want to do it on farm in real world situations because that's the most beneficial data to you all as growers. And so we'd be happy to do that. It's a real simple test to put in. Basically, we just come in at these 4 different times and plant blocks in the field and come back and evaluate them. Interestingly, like Joseph said, one thing we have seen this year, the later 2 planting dates have kind of merged together and look very similar, and the first 2 planting dates have kind of merged together and look very similar. And so real excited to see what kind of harvest data we get off of this from a yield perspective. Like Joseph was saying, we didn't get the opportunity to see a lot of freeze damage and rate that this year so far, thankfully, which is good for you all as growers, but we are trying to kind of find that fine line to mitigate that freeze damage, but also be able to maximize yield on farm. So very interested if anybody wants to work with us on this. We're always looking for locations and cooperators. So happy to work with y'all and any other on-farm management for small grain. We do that as well through the Virginia Small Grain Board. We've got a bunch of extension agents here. Stephanie Romelchek, Trent Jones is here somewhere today, I think. So if you're interested in doing on-farm work with us, we'd really like to work with you on that as well, whether it's variety testing or anything else that you're interested in. So thank y'all for being here today.
All right. Now I'd like to ask Dr. Olga Walsh, is she